started. Before we conclude our budget discussion, we had two requests to bring to committee. One was transfer of general fund monies to the rainy day fund, and the other is the clerk's additional appropriation request because of the resignation of the deputy treasurer. So I'll let Mayor Franklin, I guess, speak to the transfer.
The transfer is strictly optional. It's something that is at the disposal of City Council. We have the ability to transfer up to 10% of our, let me make sure I get this straight. We have the ability to transfer up to 10% of our budget, if that much remains unspent in the general fund at the end of the year, into the rainy day fund. Why would we do something like that? That's the question. Because it remains there one way or another. If it's transferred into the rainy day fund, it cannot be scrutinized by the Department of Local Government Finance or the State Board of Accounts. There is absolutely no scrutiny to it whatsoever, and that becomes a savings account that cannot be scrutinized for any reason. The others can be scrutinized. Now, the scrutiny is there if you spend it, but the amount of money that is placed into that account cannot be scrutinized. It's a nice way to build a little nest egg, a savings account, whatever you want. It's strictly optional.
For the rainy day.
Yeah, put it in rainy day. That's the only account that can't be scrutinized. Did I not say?
You save it for a rainy day.
Oh, yeah. And so those other things, like I say, all become, it's the word of the day, they become subject to scrutiny by all those other organizations, and they can make you do certain things with that money that you may not want to do. It's just, like I say, the advantage is it doesn't cost anything to do it. Just because you transfer it to rainy day doesn't mean you're going to spend it. In all likelihood, you're less likely to spend it than having it in the general fund. It would take an appropriation from the City Council to be able to spend it, where in the general fund it could be used for day-to-day expenses. Anyway, that's an option. It's one of those things that is a relatively new law. I think rainy day was established in about 10 years ago or so, so this thing hasn't even been around that long, but it is one of those things that we've never taken advantage of. We talked about this briefly back in probably April or May, and we had a lot of things on the plate at the time. We decided to wait until sometime in the future, but if we're going to do it, it has to be done before December 31st of this year. That's essentially it. It's not an appropriation. It's only a transfer to hold it in a different account instead of the general fund. It would be held into the rainy day fund.
And how much surplus did we have last year?
How much did we end up in the general fund?
Yeah.
It was between $4 and $5 million.
Okay.
I think the maximum amount that we could transfer is in the ballpark of $950,000. Right. Ballpark, and I'm using a rough number there. It may have been $980,000.
Yeah. And our advertised budget last year was $10 million here. So yeah. So weren't we looking at like about $850,000 would be a safe figure?
We talked about $850,000. I believe the variation of the ordinance that I circulated was a fill in the blank.
Right.
And so you could go up to $950,000. $850,000 had been suggested earlier in the year. Again, it's not an appropriation to spend the money. It's only a permission to transfer the money from one account to another.
I suggested $850 because I thought that was a safe figure underneath that maximum amount in case we didn't, if we did surplus 900 whatever, mm-hmm. I'd just soon go up to maybe the 900 because we have complete flexibility with this money.
You do.
So, it's safe there. It just takes council to move it.
It's safer there than it is anywhere else. It's harder to spend if it's placed in rainy day than any other fund.
So I'm certainly comfortable with 850. If we could do 9, that would be great too. But if that's a risk that we go overboard.
Well, if you go overboard, you can go in and appropriate it for a certain.
Yes, you could.
it's one of those things
You want to do 9 then?
Well, you know, and I hate, if you leave money in the general fund, as, it's got to go somewhere.
Yep.
So where's it going? It's going to stay on one of these line items.
It's going to stay
If it
somewhere.
stays on that line item. We've been through the last 2 years, at the end of the year transfers, and, you know, some of the councilmen feel like if it's in their budget, well, they can spend it. You know, I'm not one of those, but, so if we just leave this money in different lines, well, then if they can ask to transfer it to buy something else with it. So I think it's best if we, that we do transfer it.
This is all the money that remained in the general fund after all the transfers were made last
Right.
year. This is still what was left over.
Exactly.
And
And we
so-
made a lot of transfers last year.
And, you know, and I credit the department heads for that. They managed their money wisely, and they saved when they could, and they fulfilled needs at the end of the year. The fire chief's a prime example. He did not get in any of the $100,000 that was appropriated for a new ambulance or for a new fire chief's vehicle. He used 2013 money to pay for a 2014 purchase. Smart. That's just smart business, and in my estimation, this transfer into rainy day is the same thing.
What do you think, Teresa? What amount?
Whatever you guys want. I can't support it.
Okay.
I just can't support it.
I'd go with the 850. I think that's a comfortable figure.
I do too.
I would think the 950, and if we need to appropriate it back, we just move it back. We should go with the maximum, shouldn't we?
I'm good with that too. And actually, you know, that's what I'm looking here. If this is correct, Teresa, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that our last year's, that's with appropriate expenditures too, though, I
This is
think.
13. This is from the 13 budget, Bob.
Right.
Not
That's what I'm
14.
looking at, Teresa, right there. Oh, 14. I'm sorry. So let's go back to this one. Oh, we don't have that one. Yeah, we do.
7
13's only 7.3. So that's the difference.
I would suggest you leave it blank, and I will pull the emails that I have with this question. I've been asking financial advisors. what
Well,
they
yeah,
rec-
you know, and I do remember that figure of 850 was safe, but
850
now I'm
is,
questioning looking at 2,000, but this,
850 was conservative. The question is to advance it to the next council meeting, fill in the blank then.
That's what was spent. It's not what was appropriated, that's what was spent.
but appropriated, that would have been more than what we appropriated, wouldn't it?
No, we spent under what was appropriated.
Oh, we did, okay. Okay, so that's
According-
probably right then.
According to this resolution, the spending max was $9,609,776.
There you
Okay.
go.
But you only spent $7
That's the
million.
figure we have to go by then.
It's the 9,006,000, so it's 960,000 is the
What
maximum.
happened to Oh, then Gary disappeared. So Gary, I think that's good too, maybe 9 is even safer. I think
960 is probably pushing it, 950 is getting close to the envelope, to the outer edges.
Just go 9 then.
900.
That good?
Yeah, 900.
You don't-
It's entirely up to council, or you could say nothing.
Why don't you like going to the, well, I guess I don't need to ask that question.
Because I think if you have that much extra money, you shouldn't be charging the taxes that high.
Well, and I don't disagree with that all, you know, in total, but I think
And
since
I
it's
do-
already done, we can't undo 2013, so we don't want to just,
And I
Lose
don't
it.
think that, I think that you should have a cash balance. I don't think that you should negatively impact your cash balance. But that's my personal opinion, and that's based
Okay,
on the way
I understand that.
That's the way I operate.
so we could have if we do bring this down from that almost $1 million to 900 or 850, we have a cash balance, but not a lot.
900.
It's still a cash balance. You're not spending the money.
Gary, while you were stepped out, Joe or something, we figured out that actually we could go up to over 900,000 and be, we think, safe. So, who was it, Joe? Joe suggested 9.
Go to 900.
So, or was that you? Anyway, I
That's
agree with
fine.
9. Chuck,
Yeah.
you have?
I don't like to do it either, so I'm not supporting it.
Jeremy? I don't know how I feel about it yet, but 9 is, if that's what you guys want to do.
Okay.
Okay.
9 is?
We'll place it on the next council agenda And do you want 900,000 offered in as a fill in the blank? Or do you want to fill in the blank when you get there?
Put 900.
I'll put 900 in.
Yeah.
Okay. Not too bad.
The next issue is the clerk's request for additional appropriation because of staffing changes. Carol Sue, would you like to
Yeah,
talk about that?
Susan's retiring. Her position is one of responsibility.
Susan Marks.
I've asked the other two girls, the deputies in there, if they would want that job, and they both declined because they thought it was, you know, it is a lot. So I've hired another girl and I have to have a backup person for anybody that's in that department or in that part of it. In case, heaven forbid, somebody would get sick and we couldn't pay you people because you choked me then. So I have to have a backup person. So I've hired a full-time person for that position. Well, no, one of the girls, Mary, is going to take that position.
I'm going to move up.
She's going to move up. And then I've hired a new girl to come in and replace Mary. But actually, the new girl will also back up the payroll and everything that Susan does. And in all of that, then, when the new girl comes, I don't have enough money in there because she'll come and sit until October the 31st in training. But she will be paid with part-time wages.
2 months.
Yeah. She'll have to be trained, and she'll have part-time wages. So then it leaves me with no extra help money, and I still have to have another part-time girl to do fill-ins for that. She helps the rest of the staff. So that's why I need that money.
How much is it?
I think it's $9,032.
$9,302.
I was close.
Close enough for a clerk.
Where are you proposing to get the money from?
I'm moving the money in my budget. I mean, it'll have to be an additional appropriation.
Where are you proposing to get the money from?
From within your budget already?
Yeah, I can move part of that money, but the rest of it will come from an additional appropriation.
From which fund?
where?
From rainy day, from general fund, from...
What do we
For
got?
rainy day.
See, there you go. That's an easy one.
Well, you could go to Eastgate.
Well, it is actually. That's what's the positive about the rainy day is it is easy. If you know where all your kind of your leftover money's at, it's a good, easy place to go. So
You got to go someplace if you're going to do it.
I'd say rainy day. Unexpected circumstance. It's what it's for.
She's just increasing her budget, right?
No,
It's
she's got to have
appropriation.
additional money, and if you have an additional appropriation, you have to have a funding source for it. You can't increase your tax collections at this point in time. Your budget's set at a specific amount, and if you have additional expenditures beyond what was
Are we
approved
talking
by the-
budgets right now?
Well,
I mean,
you're
everybody
talking
else
the
has increased their
2014
budget.
budget.
15
We're
budget.
talking about her 2014
This is
budget.
okay, very good.
14.
Yeah. To
It's
get her
not-
through the
not
last
this
2
budget.
months of this
This
year.
year's
Using what year
Okay.
we're in.
This is.
We're not talking budget right now.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
14
A little
budget.
bit
Right.
in and out of it.
Okay,
So,
so
from rainy
how
day.
does everybody feel? I don't have a problem with it. I mean,
No, I don't
you've
either.
got to deal
Not at
with
all.
your
Yeah.
staffing changes.
I think that's
From rainy day.
no way around it. I think she's lucky. She's got somebody to come in, somebody else willing to step up. So I think that's normal.
Yeah.
When does she leave?
And also,
October
we did,
31st.
at the same time, cut that salary by, what, a couple $1,000 bucks?
Yes.
So, I mean, that's paying, that actually pays a little bit of this, so.
at the same time, I cut the salary of the chief deputy that's already
Right.
in that budget to $31,500. Just because I thought that that was the fair thing to do when I have other employees there that have worked longer, but they don't want the position. And with the responsibilities that comes with it, that person should have a little bit more money.
It was a good time to make that adjustment
And then,
in transition.
you know, we're paying Rowan anyway to take care of our systems, so I think we've raised Susan's salary by about $1,000 for doing that.
And I was the one that actually asked for the increase in Susan's last year. We did approve it, and I did that because of her IT work.
Right.
She's not, you know, the new person's not going to be doing that, so it does make a lot of sense to take that back. So,
Right.
perfect time to do it.
Yeah. Keeps it in line.
Hey, I'm good with it.
So you can go ahead and proceed with that
Okay,
for
thank
rainy
you.
day fund.
So you got to give a 10-day notice.
You gotta
10-day
advertise it,
notice,
right?
you have to advertise that.
Yes, I have
Yeah.
advertising.
Okay. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Okay, so if everybody's okay, we'll move back to the budget now.
Right.
Okay. What page did we leave off on?
9.
Mr.
Oh.
Clark's here, let's do police
Okay.
at this time.
Teresa, can you tell me where we left off last night, a grand total of cuts?
Not really.
Okay, I didn't know if you were keeping a running total. I was, but I'm not sure I got them all. But it's okay, we can do it
I
in.
got it on each page.
Okay,
I have it on each page, I can go back through. and
all right,
figure
we'll do
out.
it after.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Mike?
What page are we on?
9.
9.
Number 9? Number 9? Number 9? There we go.
9 and 10, he's on 9 and 10.
All right.
Mike, how many officers do you currently have on payroll?
42.
Is that the full amount, Mike, or?
No, 43 is the full.
43 is full?
Actually, 41, and then we got the grant for 2 additional officers.
2 SROs.
Last year, so we're
That
at
makes
43.
43. Yeah.
Yes.
That includes you, 42?
Yes.
And how many of those officers does the school corporation pay for, as well as the grants that you have?
The school corporation pays for the one at the high school fully, and then they pay $30,000 a year for the one at the Columbia Middle School.
That's that $30,000 match on that grant?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mike, you've got 30, almost 3,200 in here for translators, and last year, so with this year so far, you've spent $22. So what service, I guess, are you using, or?
We've just used 22.
This is
What's that?
$22.
I guess it does. Thought we used more than that, but Mark Strong has been kind enough to allow us to use one of their new firemen who's bilingual.
Okay.
And we used him several times. I know we've had the occasion, so that must be the difference, but wow.
I mean, I'm not
That-
disputing the fact that you may need something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
This year, we've been fortunate, I guess, is we haven't spent the money that we could have spent out of it. Adrian has
Yeah.
helped out a bunch.
Yeah. Adrian Sanchez.
Yeah, yeah, and
Sharp young firefighter.
Mark's allowed him to do that.
And that's through June 30th, so really there's another 6 weeks or so. That $22 was on June 30th. So it could have been July,
'Cause
August.
I don't do the payroll anymore, my assistant chiefs do, so I can't really tell you, but I guess I'm surprised at the $22. I would have thought it would have been more than that, but apparently experience picked up the slack.
Well, in 2013, it was only 221, so.
We have a 2-hour minimum when we call them out, and it's generally, that's it, you know. Very, very rarely would it be more than 2 hours, and they get $10 an hour, so at $20.
That's probably it.
Yeah.
I may have a side note, I may have a resource for you related to that, for at least Spanish to English.
Please let me know.
I'll talk to you later about it.
Okay. But, I mean, if that's something you're looking at cutting, if we only used 222 the previous year, I mean, I guess that would be okay as long as I had some money in there. If we're getting down to giving things up, that'd be one that I could definitely work around or work with.
Well, I didn't point it out to hack it at.
Oh, okay.
It just caught my attention.
Just a question.
Yeah.
On the 5,000 for clothing allowance, is that for new officers or something? I mean, what do we end up doing with
There's
clothing
nothing
allowance?
in there, Bob.
Yeah, it's reserve clothing.
Oh, that's for reserve officers. In personal services? Is that what-
Okay, yeah, I was one line off.
Well, then, how many places is it in here? Because I see,
Well, that's for the reserve officers in this budget, but the clothing's in the Lowit on the
Okay.
side.
so it's actually.
Yeah, there's
okay,
nothing
now I
in
follow.
clothing. That's what I was, it's a line off.
That's enough to make you crazy trying to figure out.
Better get my paper out.
So Mike, would you be okay cutting the translator in half?
I guarantee.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't think we need
Teresa,
to.
want to cut the translator in half?
I don't think we need to.
No,
Oh, you don't
because
think
you
we
could,
need
No.
you could have, I mean, if you don't have that other availability, you could, potentially you could eat that up real quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say it could be a couple grand, but you know, I don't see that matters. That's not a big deal. I don't see that very often.
Somebody write that down. Carol.
Are you recording this?
Yeah.
Mike, your weight room equipment is listed on it's the same account number, but it's listed on two separate lines, one for 2,500. No, okay, it's out. It's gone on one and it's put in on another.
Yes, sir.
Um,
It's always been in capital outlay.
Uh-huh.
You know, there was a issue that arose that there had to be a minimum of $750 to make a capital outlay purchase. So at that time, I moved it to supplies. It's the same amount of money. I didn't increase it. It's still $500.
Okay.
I took it from capital outlay and put it in supplies.
Just didn't qualify as a capital outlay by definition.
Gotcha. I was looking at the wrong line anyway. I thought it was a 2,500, but I see now that weight room is 0 there. Okay.
Bob was ready to jump on me there. He just,
Goodness gracious, you guys.
What about your telephone expenses? Look.
That's a joke.
oh, okay.
Wow.
You're making him nervous.
Yeah, look at that one, 31.
Everybody's telephone's so high. We were talking about it last night, and yours is the highest
I
yet.
think
But
his is going to win the.
yeah,
The prize?
That because of the cars have that?
Car phones? No, we have officer phones, cell phones, and then the landlines, it's all out of the one fund. But we have cell phones for the departments, for the K-9s. for
What's the
detectives.
30,000 then for?
The canines have.
Yep.
Yeah, they get called in. Yes.
Brr.
Not the dogs themselves, but the handlers.
you're slap happy awful early tonight, oh joy.
The handlers.
It's a whistle.
So why is it 31 for your department then? I mean,
Why is
for the
it?
phone, yeah. What
The cell phone.
different than other departments?
All the officers have cell phones.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Not everyone, but I think we pay for 24 lines, or 24 cell phones.
But then their phone bill is also astronomical by the
Okay.
time they call other departments and
Yes.
track down leads. I mean, they may call who knows where. They can.
Why did they use cell phones instead of the radio? Is that
It's when you're off duty, they're on teams,
Oh.
like tag team. When those guys, when we have an incident, they gotta be contacted. So they have their phones on them at all times.
Well, and I don't know if it's so much the case now, but, you know, there used to be an era of the guys communicated via phone to avoid people hearing what was going on over the radio. And I don't know that people really have those kinds of radios in their homes anymore, but
Oh, yeah.
I know there was an
Yeah,
era,
but other
it
cell
it was the thing, and that was,
There's so
Excuse
many
me.
cell phone apps for scanners now. You can listen to anything that's not encrypted right now, probably.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's unfortunate in several instances, but it's the way of the world.
Any other questions on the police budget?
How come your
If not, I'd
utilities
like to-
went up so much?
We assumed,
We need to put that animal warden in there.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we moved the animal warden's salary
oh, yes,
to you and the part-time.
okay. To answer your question, Bob, about the
Yeah, 'cause
utilities.
that's a big jump.
I talked with the mayor, and we assumed the liability of the insurance on the Salvation Army building.
Annex building?
Yes. Annex building, and their last fall, last winter, it got up to $500 a month with everything shut down except for the 2
Okay,
rooms.
I had a feeling that's what that was for.
Yeah, so I added that, and I also pay the utilities for our west side facility.
Okay, good enough.
Okay.
Feeling better?
I got a headache, but yeah, I feel better overall.
Good.
And I appreciate you guys giving up another night to come in here and work with me. I had a bad day yesterday, and I appreciate that.
No problem.
Just a second. Okay, so we're going to add to the police 36,057 for the salaries for animal warden and part-time animal warden plus fringes.
Part-time?
Mm-hmm. Full-time animal warden and part-time animal warden.
Right.
Salaries and benefits.
Right.
I'll get the exact figures.
From Board of Works to police. From Board of Works to police.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, the Lowell Public Safety, one thing, Mike, there's 3 different places,
Oh, yeah.
in continuing ed, in Lowell Public Safety, and in non-reverting law enforcement, you have $30,000 for, and it appears to me that that's a triplicate of the same expense.
No, I have been budgeted, I know for the last few years, 10,000 in equipment and 10,000 in instruction. And what I proposed to do was increase those to 15 for 1 year, each one 15, which would total 30, to purchase a training simulator for the police department. It's a state-of-the-art, life-size training simulator. It has 430 some different scenarios that are controlled. You can control the lighting, you can control flashlights show up on the screen, different weapons that you can purchase for it. You can do low lighting, high lighting. It's life-size HD training. And,
How much is that?
It was, with all the the guns that we use, we would buy similar guns, it was $28,700 and some dollars.
I guess I didn't explain what I was saying
I'm sorry.
correctly.
I thought you were
The
asking
same
what it's for.
appropriation is listed in 3 different spots. I don't have a problem with it. It's in continuing ed, it's in Lowell Public Safety under capital outlay new, and then it's also in non-reverting law enforcement.
Okay. Why that's done, I do not know. Where I requested it from was the non-reverting, the
Okay.
486 fund.
Okay, so we can take that out of the continuing ed.
Is that part of the 486, Carol Sue, or is the
Part of the what?
continuing ed, is that a different fund?
No, that'll be your 486.
That is the 486, so it
Yeah.
needs to stay in that one.
So you want it in continuing ed, but we can take it out of Lowett Public Safety?
Yes. I guess I didn't catch that, I apologize.
You may not have.
What page is the continuing ed on, Teresa?
The Lowett is on,
21.
yeah, page 21. And then the non-reverting, law enforcement.
What page is that on?
29.
29?
Oh, there it is.
And we're also gonna take that, Teresa, out of,
The Lowett Public Safety,
yes,
the line that says capital outlay new.
yes.
Remember I asked about that last night?
Right.
So you're taking it out of the Lowett and just leaving the 15 and the 15 in the law enforcement fund?
Right, that's where Mike needs it in the continuing ed.
Yes.
It's actually the exact same thing. He had it wrapped up, it just says capital outlay new in the Lowett Public Safety for the full amount. And then it's in the continuing ed spelled out, and it's also in the non-reverting spelled out.
What page is the
It's just
continuing
like-
ed on?
The what?
The continuing ed, what page is that on?
26.
Clear at the top.
Oh, okay.
So that's 60,000 that was in there that comes out because it was in there 3 different times. Does anyone have any other questions for Mike from the Lowett Public Safety, any of the equipment or anything that he has listed there? Questions about anything?
How many squad cars you're planning on buying next year, Mike? 4?
Yes, sir.
4, I thought we were on a 3 cycle.
We have been on a 3, and they asked to, when we went through the capital improvement plan, they said to increase it by 1 this following year. And they had a formula. how they-
Then back to 3?
Yeah, I think it was.
Oh, okay.
If you've got an odd number one year.
4343.
Yeah, because we did about 11 last year, I think, so.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, that I did within my budget,
Yeah.
yeah.
We have to do that with
Didn't-
school buses when we do. We'll have 1 year.
But
where we have to
it's
buy
always
that.
been
Okay, we're
budgeted-
back, well, we're,
budgeted 3.
that's
Yeah.
surprised. I thought we was gonna be on the 3 this year, but CIP.
Well, they actually, I thought it was 4, and they changed it to 4, the amount with that in there, so.
Is that all we have on Mike?
I believe so. Does anybody else have any, anybody have any other questions for Mike?
Nope.
Have any kind?
No.
I got a
Everybody
question.
okay?
Yeah, but it's after Mike, so.
Everybody
ahead.
okay?
Mhm.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Hope you get to feeling better.
Go home, Mike.
Playing along. Again, thank you. I mean, appreciate it.
This might be actually a little late to say this. I know.
Okay.
But I probably should have said this from the beginning, knowing that, but actually today, I was caught off guard last night of not having this budget with me. And so today I looked at it again, and I realized, as Chuck said, we have raised our taxes. We have. And I believe that's on page 17. And we're up to 11 million now, and for this projected for our 2015. And so we definitely have increased it. When we do that, like I said last night, I expect to give something back to the taxpayer, and I haven't really seen that yet. And so if you have this extra money, obviously we've got an extra $1 million or so. What I'm seeing is we got the money, it's in the budget, so we're spending it on what could be considered frills, or they're not essential service stuff, because we've got an extra $1 million. But taxpayer, to me, is getting left out so far, and I hope that we can address that going forward, because we are going to, looks to me, we're cutting a lot out of this budget, and we got a lot to go here, some big items coming up. So I thought maybe I probably should have said that first, because I don't think we should be looking at this as we've got all this money. That's just, it's just like a $28,000 simulator. That's really nice, but look how hard we've tried to get a Mondo pad in here, which has been difficult. So I just think that I hope that we can. Have you? Is there anything in the budget for the?
Well, no, there's nothing in the budget as a give back. We did last year with the.
We considered the trash.
We returned the trash. We
Yeah.
consider that to be a give back. There's 100 possibilities, Bob. I don't know which one we'll zero in on, but I have a very important meeting on Friday that I think would be the most tremendous big give back we could ever give to anybody here. But it takes time to put those things together, and at the right time.
Do you have? Is there a hint of what that is going to be? Or?
No, I better not. I'm afraid Jim Brew would sue us before Thursday night if I tried to do something. I've only been sued by him once this week already, and it's only Tuesday. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah,
I'm not comfortable with all this spending.
Sure.
And not giving anything to the taxpayers.
But Bob, you also advanced the idea of setting some money in a rainy day fund tonight.
Right.
And that money that's set aside tonight is in addition to the 2013, the $1 million we returned in 2013, that money we're transferring into rainy day is also from the 2013 balance. So that's almost $2 million. We're not even into 2014 yet. And we have all of the remainder of 2014 and the remainder of 2015. If we choose to, we can transfer more money into that rainy day fund, or hopefully do this really exciting project that I've got going on. It doesn't have anything to do with the power plant.
Okay.
Or the mall or anything else like that. Those are all.
Darn.
Those are all.
Okay.
Living Those are living organisms in their own life. So.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to say that because I'm very concerned about that. So, thank you, Teresa.
Okay. I'm just going to go to the areas that we haven't touched on. I will go to Board of Works last. Okay?
Okay.
We'll return to Board of Works last, unless you prefer to do Board of Works first.
Hey, let's do it now.
Okay.
What page is that?
4.
Wow, right up. All right.
I think you all there was a question about the line item for the life insurance and the health insurance on Board of Works, and I think you all got a copy of the email from Susan. She indicated that she put that where she felt it should be, and I agree with her. That's what I was saying last night, that those should be separate line items in the budget, so not just all wrapped into hospitalization, because it's deceiving as to what that cost is.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
I mean, it's no additional expenditure, you're just splitting it out by what the expenses are, where the expenses are, which makes more sense. It's more transparent that way.
Yeah. Makes no difference to me.
The elephant that was left on the table last night was the cut to the contracted services and Board of Works, and I proposed to cut that to $200,000.
We're into, this is August 18th, 2013. We're at $248,482 right now. A lot of that has to deal with the frivolous lawsuit, and we hope to get some of that money back, at least $24,235 of it. An amount of it is also, and I don't have these broken down.
How much
other
did
than
you say there, Ted?
I'm sorry?
That last figure you thought you might get back?
$24,235.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's what the judge
Right.
awarded
We
us,
understand that.
which is now being appealed, which will cost another $10,000 or $12,000 to get through the appeal. So, but the Barnes and Thornburg so far this year, mostly on the frivolous lawsuit, that's this year alone. This is Barnes and Thornburg alone, $37,523. John Molitor, mostly on the frivolous lawsuit, $32,977. Reedy Financial, $52,398. KGR, that's work on the power plant. That's Brian Bosma, $54,046. Name them. I mean, I'm happy to go. Those are the biggest ones at this point in time. I no longer have William Lynn James under retainer. I could see we're going to hit a brick wall this year. I cut him off I cut William Lynn James off in April. And one last expense that I added because of the withdrawal of the county from the City of Logansport Economic Development Organization. They lost about $65,000 when the county pulled out, and we appropriated $30,000 for that to help subsidize them and their shortfall that they're going to have this year. So all those things
You're
together.
saying we appropriated it.
We appropriated, I'm sorry, the city council appropriated part of that $300,000 last year. $30,000 was approved for Cleto this week
Oh, by you?
by the Board of Works, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought, yeah, okay.
So the total is $248,482. $300,000 is not.
That's for
And-
this year already, which is.
Yeah, and
That's
that's,
for-
and that's where I do think most of these, a good chunk of these, I don't see that you'll have those expenses that large because we don't have the power plant. Hopefully we won't have the lawsuits. Hopefully we get some back from it instead of paying out. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to need plenty, that you don't need something. But I do think that surely that this has to, and I don't mean to call you Shirley, but this should be a lot less than what you've had to spend this year.
Well,
I would hope.
nobody has the,
It's there, and he's
it's also-
he's not spending it, and it's there.
Right, but it's also, you can also do it, and if he needs more, all we have to do is take it out of the rainy day.
I'm for keeping it right at 300.
when the budget that's submitted before any cuts were made was $17,000 below the amount that's allowed by the state. We're already below. We're not like the county. The county's scrambling. They're going to have to cut money. They have to cut money. Our budget has been managed. We hired financial advisors to help us manage that so we don't get in a crisis. And part of that investment, part of that $300,000 investment, provided the guidance that put us in the position that we don't have to be scrambling to cut money right now.
Don't
That's
disagree with that.
the whole methodology behind this is spend money wisely, invest it wisely, and then you're not scrambling to do all the things where for the last 100 years we flew blind. We cut the fire department from 44 men to 30 men. And every dime that we left on the table, every dime that we cut was picked up by another governmental entity. Those savings weren't passed along, not one damn dime of it. Not the first nickel. And we've done it the right way for the first time ever. And now we're scrutinizing the $300,000 that we appropriated that allows us to do it the right way. It's like taking 3 steps back, and we're just going to go back into the same hole we were in. We're flying blind. If we cut the money, the first thing that will be cut is Reedy.
We're not talking about cutting Reedy's out, though.
No, I am.
You are?
Yes. Yeah.
Why would you do that?
If the money's appropriated, that'll be the first thing that goes. I have to have lawyers to defend the frivolous lawsuits. I have to.
So if we don't give you, 100, what'd you say? Who said?
I said 300.
No, somebody else was before that. It was 200. Was that you?
Teresa said 200.
So if we go 200, 200's not going to cover Reedy and that other.
Bob, it depends. What do you want? You know, if you think I'm wasting the money, cut it.
Yeah, I do think you wasted 30 on pleading.
Well,
Yeah.
when the county pulls out and they pull $65,000 worth of their resources, we may as well just shut Cleto down at that point in time.
Not when they have $320,000 in cash. No.
Do what you want. It's your decision. You guys control the money.
I'm for 300.
I'm for 200.
I'm for 200.
2.
Is there any way we could make a line item for a Reedy? Have a separate line for that? Like 50,000?
Yeah, I guess it's something we could talk about. It's nothing that I haven't really even considered.
It wouldn't be maybe a bad, but, because you could budget for them.
Yeah, and then I don't know if there's anything
I
else
don't
we
know,
could...
they vary, so I don't know how you budget for them. Because they vary, the redevelopment commission has the same thing,
And
the bills we have.
And
Yeah,
their
that's
expense
another one.
should
The
go down.
redevelopment commission's $30,000 out of this money. When we appropriated this $30,000 last year, there was no plan for paying the redevelopment commission the 30.
Yeah, 25.
25,000.
25,000. Okay. Well, my math's a little off. I had 27,264.
Is Cleto listed in
That's next
in here
year.
too?
Yeah,
Yeah, Cleto's listed.
that'd be next year.
Do we need to bump that up 30,000?
I'm just trying to keep it even at
Bump what up?
300,000.
Cleto, didn't you say 30,000 is needed for Cleto?
Yeah, 30,000 for Cleto.
It's not needed.
For 2014, our budget match is about 45,000.
I'm
That's-
just trying to get to 2,000 and maybe we can break a couple of these things out.
Well, I just need to explain to you. In 2014, the city of Logansport is providing 11.5% of their seated contribution or their seated collections to Cleto. It totals about $45,000. The $30,000 that came out of this contractual services is gone to supplement Cleto. It takes them up to $75,000, which is exactly what you folks appropriated at your
We
last
have that
council
on
meeting.
page 26, you guys, those figures.
It's what you appropriated at your last council meeting. You cut it from 90 to 75. So they're even this year, again, after the county pulls out.
So Cleto's on 26?
So what?
You say the Cleto line's on 26?
Yeah, 26 is the Cleto expenses. And we cut the 90 on there to 75 so far on our first reading on the ordinance. So, we're not to this page yet, but I just wanted.
So my request was for 300,000. Again, when we started, before we cut one dime out of this budget, we were $17,000 below the maximum allowable.
But like I said,
Everything that we cut will be picked up by somebody else, another governmental entity.
but we
And
haven't
when
given
you-
anything
well-
to the
well,
taxpayers.
Bob,
yet.
let me finish.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And when we cut that, every dime that we cut from our tax levy means further repercussions. That's less money we collect in seated. That's less money we collect in local roads and streets and gasoline tax and cigarette tax. All of those other taxes are based on your tax levy for property taxes. When you cut $1, that doesn't mean you're cutting $1. It means you're cutting $1.75. That's what it means.
I agree.
It's not like this $300,000 is being wasted. But if it's a drastic cut that you want, it's a drastic cut you will get.
Okay.
That'll be 0.
So Cleto's at 90 right now. So that's where we wanted it, right? Is that-
No,
No, it's a 75.
It says 90 on advertising.
That was what was requested, but it was cut.
Hips can.
our first vote, Gary, we took on the ordinance for the Cleto. is
Bob
we
amended it to
amended
75.
it to 75. And
So
that
this
was-
doesn't reflect what we've...
No, it just didn't get changed on here. So that's kind of an automatic
Yeah.
change so far.
Well, I'm for leaving it at 3. I am.
I'd like to see, can we break Reedy out at 50,000? Is that what we pay them a year? Is that-
Well, I'm through 8 months, I'm not even through 8 months, and we're at $52,398.
So 60,000?
I think that amount will decrease when we get through this budget cycle. It's likely to decrease, depending on, again, some of this, Reedy has been very involved in our annexation, and I can just about guarantee you they're going to spend 8 hours on the stand explaining all the benefits of our taxation system in the city versus the county. I don't know how much it's going to be. That's part of the 900-pound
see-
gorilla in the room.
I think we're arguing over nothing. If we cut it now, if you need more money, we're certainly going to provide you with whatever you need.
Here's a suggestion. Since some of this, a good portion of this seems to be going for legal services, is it possible to move $100,000 to the attorney account as a line item for purchase, for paying for outside attorneys?
Not without a contract, and then it becomes contractual services. That's what I'm saying.
But could we put it in contractual services in the city attorney's budget?
I have actually, we're not to the city's attorney's budget yet, but
No.
when we do, I have some discussions on that. Because we are spending a lot of money on legal fees. And we're also.
See, I'm just wondering if we could move $100,000 to the city attorney, to the city attorney budget for those attorneys that were paying for outside of what services Randy provides.
I'm not sure you can do that, though.
Under
Yeah.
contracted services?
You can't.
It's
Just
still-
from
It's still
He's got this
contractual
fixed budget
services.
in here.
just from recent experience with State Board of Accounts, all contracts have to be approved by the Board of Works. It's with the Board of Works. It's not with any other department.
Right.
Board of Works has to do it.
And he has to have a contract.
And you have to have a contract spelled out in writing, on file, approved, officially voted on by the Board of Works. It's more complicated than, this $300,000 is not a lot of money. I'm fighting for it because it's so important.
I just have a different philosophy than the way you explain it, Ted, and
Somehow I knew you would.
I just do. I mean, I'm sorry
I'm shocked.
that people play games like that, and that's unfortunate. But I think we do what's in the best interest of the taxpayers, and that's to manage our budget and not to continue to flirt with the top levy. Maybe that's just bad government from the bottom up, but.
And, Chuck, I would tend to agree with you, and I had hoped to be able to do it this year, but with my workload, I just haven't been able to. But I would love to approach every single taxing entity, and there's 38 of them to my knowledge in Cass County, approach all 38 of them and have a public forum where we challenge each other to cut your budget by 10%. And if we all did that, if we all cut our budget by 10%, there would truly be a 10% reduction in property taxes that go back to the people. But when the city cuts their budget by 10%, the county and the school increases their budget by 5%, and there's not one damn dime of it that goes back to the taxpayers. And when we cut by 10%, that costs us 15%. It's the craziest system that you'll ever see, but that's the methodology that Indianapolis imposed on us when they did property tax reforms. And I'll tell you what, we're going to sink if we don't take our fair share. It's just that's reality.
And I agree with that, and I went over that last night, and that's why I touched on it again today, that I do want to take our maximum levy because we are just giving it to other entities, but I don't want to just raise it to throw money around. I want to do, my idea, the way I saw it was if we take that maximum levy, I'm good with it because I'm going to give it directly back to the taxpayer. If we don't give it directly back to them, they don't get it. Somebody else does. At least they get a big percentage of it.
But, Bob,
if we can give it directly back to the taxpayer, they get it. And and that's what I want to see.
I think everybody wants that, Bob, but you can't just give it directly back to them, because as soon as you try to do something good for them, somebody sues you.
Well, but like we did with the trash tax, so. And that bottom line was it saved $160 a year.
I don't disagree with you.
That was a good thing. And it cost us $900,000. That's kind of what I'm looking back, I hope we can do this year.
Okay, so the majority of the council agreed that cut contracted services to 200,000 in the Board of Works, so that's.
I know you can't take a vote, but
I didn't hear the majority. I heard Bob, heard you, heard Joe. I didn't hear us.
I said 2.
Me too.
Okay, all right, 2.
2?
I'm 3, but they're 2. We done?
No. We have rainy day.
Kind of.
Page 20, rainy day, non-reverting drug.
What number was that again?
20,
20.
page 20. Rainy day budget for 2014 was 200,000 and is proposed to be the same for 2015. Does anybody have any problems with that?
No, I'd increase it. I think we're going to be able to increase it a lot, but I don't know if this is the time to do it, but,
All the rest of that money that was cut,
yeah,
can that be transferred to the rainy day?
basically.
It'll be well,
We do have, if we have what was that, 10 or 11 million our budget was for this year, the 15, I'm sorry.
There's a maximum on rainy day. What's the maximum that you can budget on rainy day?
10% of the
Well,
certified budget,
I'm-
of the surplus.
Are you talking about in this budget?
Yes.
I don't believe there is a maximum. There's not a maximum that I know of.
There's no
There's been other years where nothing was budgeted.
Right, so we could go up to $1 million there.
No, we're not.
We could. I mean, I'm just saying.
I hope
No, I'm
we're
not
not.
saying we are.
I hope we're not.
But you know what? I think, to be truthful, we're gonna have it. From what
Okay, so.
we're not done yet.
So, then, what about moving the 100,000 that we cut from contracted services to rainy day?
Not without the mayor's approval, and that's very unlikely.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. I'd say let's
That's
kind of
fine.
keep a tally on this, so we'll know at the end
Yeah.
how much we can
I
transfer.
will put together a spreadsheet with all of the changes, detailing the changes, so we know. Non-reverting drug has 3,000 budgeted, the same as last year.
Teresa, on that one, I wanted to point out that in that account, there's only $1,099.87.
Well, what kind of expenses do they pay out of it?
I think that's what they use to.
I don't know if I brought that sheet. Yeah, it's right here. I didn't, on that, I didn't put down what the expenses were, but I can get that for you tomorrow. But they've only got $1,099.87 in there.
The proposal was for 3,000.
What number do you want
The same
Page 20.
It's the same page.
120?
But it's only money in, money out, isn't it, Teresa? If the prosecutor gives them drug buy money, they need to have it in. I think that's how that operates. It could have a lesser amount, but that's what they get buy money from different sources.
So what are you saying, Carol Sue? We need to increase it?
I just wanted to point out how much was in that account as of this point.
That's in the capital outlay account?
No, that's the
Non-reverting.
non-reverting drug,
3,000?
3,000 for
The
non-reverting drug.
other services.
Yeah.
There's nothing in capital, that's the other
Right.
piece of it. I guess we leave it, if they have to have more, we address it.
No, I think that should be enough. I don't think drugs have an inflation rate to them. Because,
I haven't bought it for a while.
Yeah.
So, don't write that down.
The other is the unsafe building.
Page?
That we haven't looked at yet.
There you go.
What's page?
22.
Page 22, unsafe building. That's at the same amount that it was last year. Anybody have any problems with that?
No.
How are we on the list of tearing houses down?
60,000, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, of course, we just moved, we had 100 in demolition, and now we added another 100 last night for the Board of Works demolition for the pool.
Yeah.
So I think we're doing a really good job on demolition. I think everybody appreciates it too.
How are we on the list of, the unsafe building houses?
On our list?
Yeah.
I believe there's 42 of them that that qualify for the grant that we applied for, and the date of the grant announcement has been changed. It may have been today. I think the award was going to be announced today, but I was out of town, so I haven't heard if it was good or not. But there's more buildings that need torn down than we have money. But there's a good possibility we'll knock down 42 in the next year or so if we get the
I
grant.
was thinking at one of our committee meetings we had with Bill, and we were talking about, I think probably this grant stuff, of how many houses we had to tear down. It seemed to me that we were approaching, we could be approaching a kind of money that could take out most of them.
Well, yeah, if we get the grant, we're more than half of what's left. I think there's like 70, and 42 are targeted. But
Okay.
not all of them that we can apply for the grant for are residential. The grant applies to residential property only, not commercial or retail.
That's a major step forward there,
Yeah.
getting rid of those houses. People really appreciate it, I know. Big help.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Page 29, non-reverting host community fund. Shows two items. Purchase of a trash truck and tub grinder.
Right.
Tub grinder we spoke about before. I think
Right.
that's going through now.
Yeah, well, it's out for bids right now. There are 5 manufacturers, and we spec'd it, sent the specs out, waiting
We're
on.
paying for that?
Yeah.
We decide to pay for that, so then we need to take this out. We need to take the 60,000 out because
Well-
we're not gonna have lease payment
Well,
if we're gonna pay for it.
No, I don't. We haven't decided to pay for it. We talked about it, but if you did it, it was at a meeting that I didn't attend. But
We,
Might have been, he was gone, weren't you gone for a little bit?
it could have been.
That was what was
I
going on
thought
last
we
time.
had, were you here when
That-
Dale was here?
Okay, was that the chipper?
Okay, you were, yeah.
Are you thinking of the chipper?
No,
this
it's
is the
tub grinder.
The tub grinder.
This is
Bob
the
Dale
tub
was
grinder.
here, and I think we decided we decided we were gonna pay for that?
Well, I do think that, I was all for leasing because it was fine, but, this is another thing. If we have a large amount of money here that's surplus, we could pay for this instead of
Well,
paying lease
the
payments.
lease interest rates are small.
Yeah, that's the way I felt.
Yeah.
Really, the interest is very
It's-
little, so it's,
I know that's
a
an
lot more
option.
attractive than normal.
I know that's an option, but I apologize. I don't have all of it in front of me.
I got noted 60,000 a year
Right.
for 7 years.
Right.
Okay, so we're gonna lease the
We
pay.
we were gonna stick with the
Okay.
lease.
And there was talk about a possibility on the trash trucks of buying straight up maybe 2 of the trash trucks and leasing 2 of the trash trucks.
Right.
And so that's where the blend came in.
So I think we, go ahead.
What type of trash truck are you talking about?
Well, there's 2 trash trucks that would be the kind that have an arm that come out automated, grasp, picks the trash up, dumps it, sets it back down, and you drive to the next house. That way you can have one person, it's a one-man operation instead of a two-man operation. So it's a little more expensive up front, but it reduced the cost later. The second kind of truck was one, it's just a typical rear load that would be available for large items. Like if you have somebody that sets a sofa and a mattress out, you can't use the grappler arm to pick it up and put it in. So you have to have a rear load, and then there would be yet one more aimed at recycling. If we choose to continue the recycling, recycling is very, very expensive, and that'll be a decision ultimately that you get to make.
As far as furniture goes, we have the street department now picks that stuff up, don't they, on
No.
trailers or something?
No.
What do we do with it?
The trash truck picks it up if you put a dollar sticker on it.
I didn't realize that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Do they come with a different one than that deal that picks up your deal?
most of the time, yes.
Okay, I've
Yeah.
never, well, I guess maybe I don't set stuff out like that.
Please discuss the purchase of the trash truck. I'm having problems with this.
Okay.
Just tell me what the intent is or why or whatever.
The intent is we're a little over $1 million right now with Wabash Valley, and their service is horrible. There's no less than 30 homes a week that get missed, and it's sometimes they'll make it back the same day. Not always. They seem to have a different driver every week. But we've done the calculations, and estimations are neighborhood, I'll say conservatively, $100,000 that we would save if we pick up the trash ourselves. That's everything being equal and us dumping our trash collection right now up at the top of the hill on 18th Street. Now, if and when we get a power plant, they have agreed to accept our waste free of charge. We'll take it to them. They will be responsible for disposal in some fashion, whether it's converted into pellets or whether they end up taking it to the landfill themselves. They will be responsible for the cost of disposal. We still have to collect it, but they're responsible for the cost of disposal. Cost of disposal is about 6,500 tons. At right now, in today's money, $27 a ton. That price will go up within 3 years. We anticipate. But we have the estimate right now is that it will cost us $27 a ton for the next 3 years to dispose of trash, and there's 6,500 tons approximately that we have to deal with every year.
It's just residential trash, not commercial. Right?
Yeah, it's just residential only. We're not responsible for any commercial or industrial.
And tell me about the insurance costs, Ted.
$1,200 a year.
And that's through who?
That's through, who are we with? It's through Regions, but I can't think of the name of the company. It's through Regions, though.
One thing that I know that when this was discussed years ago, I remember sitting in the back of the council room when this trash tax came about, and one thing I came up and asked is about being more efficient, about, we could push our totes to the other side or don't pick them up but every other week. Well, they said, well, we won't do that. You have a contract, and they're not willing to be more efficient because they want that $900,000 or whatever. Well, if we do it ourselves now, we have a good incentive to be more efficient, and we can do it more efficient by doing some of those things and save the taxpayers a lot of money. And plus, we'll be creating 2, 4, 5 jobs or
4,
something out.
probably 4.
I think the street department will do it. Good paying job, and all that money, that $900,000 or whatever, $1 million.
Little $975 this
All
year.
that money will stay right here instead of going to Wabash. That we're hauling that money in that truck to Wabash. So it's all positives. I'd like to suggest here, we got several things. If we kind of jot this down, here's another. If we have this extra money, and we have a trash truck we need to buy, instead of making the payment or whatever, let's buy it.
You can.
Yeah, let's use that money for that.
This is just for planning right now. I don't want anyone to get blindsided. We had a discussion at some point. We left it with, I won't say it was even an understanding, but we were leaning towards purchase of 1 or 2 trucks, lease of 1 or 2 trucks. We didn't want to wipe out our non-reverting host community fund, which, by the way, is looking really good. If we're on target to collect $300,000 in the next 12 months, which is far more than we've been collecting.
And that's what that money should be used for.
Well,
Like, actually can be used for.
You know, it's up and down, and we're competitive right now. There seems to be a lot of economic growth right now where people are demoing and hauling different things to the trash, and we're the lucky beneficiary of the added activities.
So
But
let's see where we end up with our cash.
it's
and then
just,
go from there.
it's built in there right now at $125,000. If we choose to do it, we can. If we don't, we
Well,
may
certainly
we
don't
may
want
apply.
to.
I think we have about $1.5 million in our non-reverting host community fund right now. Out of that, we also have to buy trash totes,
Yeah.
and I hope to buy 2. One of them, one color for trash, one of them a different color for recycling.
Yeah, with a
but to
lid.
make both of them the same size, 64-gallon tote with a lid.
There's more
So when the
efficiency
wind
right
blows,
there.
well, when the wind blows, you don't have to worry about your trash blowing all the way down the road. We get that complaint so often, and it helps.
Probably pick it up once a month, or
There-
once every 2 weeks.
I think it's a good idea. I can't tell you how many times we got
Oh,
a
yeah.
tote piled over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that happens all the time.
Trash.
absolutely.
With,
Trash blowing
meat,
all over
yeah.
the street.
Let's keep tabs on this one. I'm all for the trash truck, and
Yeah.
I just know we looked into this a few years ago, and the insurance was astronomical. So $1,200 a year just shocks me.
probably because so much of our insurances are covered under that umbrella
We're under an umbrella.
that covers.
The only additional cost, Chuck, is the cost to insure the vehicles.
How about workers' comp?
It's included. I've asked the same questions.
You got to figure off the top of your head how much these trash trucks will cost.
I have all of it written down. It depends on which model. The kind with the automatic grappler arm are more
The
expensive
best
than.
one.
350?
Oh, I don't think they're 350. I think they're more like 240. But I have it written down, but I just don't
We're
have it
gonna
here.
need 2 automatic ones.
I have it written down.
Okay, so I'm just getting a ballpark idea.
Yeah.
$1 million would take care of it.
Okay, I think we're down to 2 areas now. That would be economic development, which is on page 26.
Here's where I'm seeing a lot of savings.
Go ahead.
Want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, on the in economic development, of course, the first line, Cleto operating funds, we've already cut that first reading, 75. So I've written that in. I'm not looking at making any change on Logan Landings for now. I think they're actually doing a little good out there now. But next line, starting with the Cleto retention funds, 15,000. I want to strike that. Training, next line.
Do we know at all what that's for?
No, I don't know what it's for, and I don't really care at this point because I'm on that board. I mean, I don't know what it's for. This isn't new here.
Should John Hipshkin be here to defend this at all?
Okay, look, I'll tell you
I'm
what,
just
let's-
asking. I mean,
Okay,
you know, I
that's
mean,
fine.
He should, but he is an error, but.
Right. Well, I'll say training funds was something, and Chuck will probably remember this. You know, we did give some money. Was that be like a federal mobile kind of thing? Is that what they're
Yeah,
thinking?
I believe so.
Something like that. There's nothing in the works for that. So I don't really want to just turn this money over to Cleto and let them decide about that. I think that's what we need to do. We have serious discussions that we need to make about putting money into that place when we don't know what's going to happen. So I say, same as the swimming pool now, we need to move this money so we have control of that money.
but you don't know the reasoning behind why it's there.
No, I don't for sure, but I'm saying, I believe I'm right in saying that that's in case they want to have a training program for some factory or something.
Yeah, that's what I would anticipate.
So,
whether it be new factory or ongoing training or new piece of equipment or anything, some kind of incentive that would allow that.
That's 15. The next line is marketing funds. No, I'm one off, aren't I?
No, you're right.
Training,
15
marketing.
for training, yeah, the second one's 20 for marketing.
No, it's
no.
15 for marketing. It's 20 for training, it's 15 for retention.
Marketing's 15.5.
Get my little sheet out here.
It's 15 for retention,
Okay.
20 for training, 15.5 for marketing.
Okay, so I'm one ahead here. So marketing at 15.5, I'm striking all these. That's what I'm asking. Marketing is generally for them to, they might buy cups, pins.
Advertise in magazines.
Yeah.
I think that's more
Billboards
their,
and advertisement,
Yeah.
magazines were the big expenses when Skip was there.
yeah, there's a few regional and national trade magazines that they like to advertise in. There again.
And that's actually already in their budget. So I don't understand why they're asking for this again. That's in the Cleto's budget. They have that in their budget. for
Well,
marketing.
is their budget a result of our contribution? I mean, did they base their budget off of what we contribute?
I think they try to.
So that's probably why
but
it's in their budget.
They have cut some of that stuff, but there's only so much they're being able to cut.
Right now, Cleto is on pace to go extinct in what, 3
5
years?
years.
No, because they just gave $60,000 for the spec building. So
Well, they
it's,
haven't done that yet, though. So
yeah, they have. They approved it.
well, but we haven't approved it. The other half of it.
Well, okay, well,
So if we don't approve
Cleto
it-
agreed to provide $60,000 towards the spec building. Their entire budget right now is about $100,000 a year. They have $320,000 cash on hand. So if they have 320, you subtract 60,000, they're at 260. We're going to supplement them by 75 for next year, so they're back up at 325. 335. Okay, so they're at 335 total. So at a $100,000 a year budget, they're extinct in 3 years.
Plus your 30,000, it's 360.
I don't hey, it's council's decision.
Well, yeah, okay. Well,
If-
we're just figuring this out. And when and the reason I said 5 years, that's what Cleto's treasurer, Cuppy, and also their auditor agreed that it was around 5 years.
Prior to
But-
the contributions, though.
Yeah.
Prior to the 60,000.
Prior to this. Yeah.
And the 60,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that doesn't matter. I think the point is they are going extinct unless we raise our contributions substantially. And that's where I look at, we have to decide at some point how much are we willing to fund that, because if not, we're giving money. If we add these things to here, we're doing nothing more than keeping them from keeping in business a few extra years. So it's my view that as long as they've got $300,000 in cash, I don't see that there is any emergency at this point to give them more money. And if they do dissolve, that money doesn't necessarily come back to us. So that is the board's choice of where that money goes. So I looked it up to the IRS to check this out, and
501c3.
yeah, and it goes to, according to your bylaws, the board, and the board's bylaws say that it goes back to, it can go back to the federal government, state government, or local government for like use, or a similar, like another 501c3. So it's the board's choice. We have 2 or 3 votes on that board, so I'm not real sure that the city would get this money back. So I don't want to put too much money in their account so that for no reason. So I think we need to make these decisions, and that's why I want to cut these things for now, just like we did the pool, and then we'll go from there. The incentive funding for $85,000. I don't know what incentive funding would be for them. You know, we provide those incentives. So
That doesn't particularly say it's Cleto.
Yeah.
That 85,000
Oh, okay.
is not going to
Okay.
Cleto, is it?
No.
No, it doesn't say Cleto.
No.
I'm sorry. Good catch.
But what types of, what would you expend that money on?
Well, it is what it says it is, incentives. I would assume, and I shouldn't do this, it is traditionally spent as some kind of leverage, some kind of match, some kind of something to spur a development, whether it be a job, some kind of training fund. They've used training funds before. That one is wiped out. I'm really having a hard time speaking for John. He's not here.
But this isn't for Cleto here, incentive.
No, I understand.
Okay.
Okay, so
I was just asking.
No, that's fine.
what you might-
we do those incentives on case by case. I don't see a reason to have that in there, so I'd like to strike that 85. The next line is land acquisition and the special building are two new items. $1 million, this is where we're talking big money now. $1 million for land acquisition.
Who decided to put the incentive funding in there? Who put that?
Wait a minute. It's in the capital improvement plan. Capital improvement plan's been voted on. So the money is put in there, and it's only...
For $85,000 for incentives?
You approved it.
Okay, I just didn't realize.
It's in the capital improvement plan. So
Okay.
the capital improvement plan, those two new items...
Doesn't mean we have to approve it
The
here, right?
the two blue articles, highlighted in blue, are in anticipation of receiving our reimbursement regarding the power plant. So if it comes in there, it just goes back into the Economic Development Fund. It goes back to the fund it came from, the CEDAT fund. This CEDAT fund, this is in the CEDAT fund, or in it doesn't say Cleto. That was intended as an option if we get the money back. Doesn't mean you have to do it.
You lost me there.
We talked about it in the capital improvement plan.
Well, so you lost me on this capital improvement here, $1,250,000.
Uh-huh.
The $1 million, just stop the $1 million for land acquisition. You're saying it's in the CIP. It says blue here.
Yep.
CIP.
Yep.
But for what? $1 million.
For land acquisition.
For what land?
We don't know. It's in there, Bob. It doesn't mean you have to spend it. It doesn't mean the land's been identified. It means that it's identified in the capital improvement plan. So you remember, one of the things that we touted was the capital improvement plan for the first time ever is completely funded. This is built into this budget in anticipation of, and it's only anticipation of being reimbursed for the development costs of the power plant. If we don't get it, that doesn't mean you have to spend it. This doesn't commit you to anything.
That's where you're throwing me off. This $1 million is put in here
Uh-huh.
in case we get the other $1 million back.
This $1 million is put in here because it was requested in the capital improvement plan.
Okay.
By who?
All of us talked about it. I mean, it's an option. We're looking at a second industrial
But we're
park.
not tied to it.
No, you're not tied to it. It doesn't mean that this is, you don't spend this money just because it's in here.
Right.
It's so that nobody comes up later and says, where the hell did this come from?
Okay, my question would be, maybe this will clear up some of this. Who has the authority to approve that expenditure?
My next.
Only the city council. The money that comes back in the event that we land the power plant is reimbursed into the account from which it came.
That shouldn't have anything to do with this.
No, it does, though. That money is deposited into the CEDAT fund, and it can't come out unless council approves it. Just because it's identified in here doesn't mean that it's funded.
Well, so what you're saying, if the money comes back from the power plant, it's going to CEDAT, and it's
Yep.
coming out of CEDAT into here?
Yep,
There.
if you agree to do it.
Yeah.
This is not a tax-supported fund.
No.
So, except for the fact of throwing it in the budget, there's really no reason to do that.
It's what our financial advisors tell us to do. Identify it in the budget.
All right, I get it then. But that doesn't, so this is just, because some of these things can pay cash for those things that we're looking at making payments on, or, like I said, to give money back to the taxpayer, something like that. So, I'm just going to ask to strike that in the next one. What's the special building?
Same thing.
I mean, it has,
Just strike it, strike, what are you talking about?
What are you striking?
The special building,
You struck $1
$250,000.
million too?
That's what I'm
That's just
asking.
what you want.
That's just what I'm asking,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Well, I don't know, shit.
I'm just, and that, I'm actually done there, but, I'm going to, there's nothing left.
You're done.
That's 1.4 million, $500 right there. And so that's what I'm saying. There's a large amount of money there that obviously doesn't need to be spent or even budgeted for. That takes care of completely funding our rainy day for the next year. $1 million we could put in there if we wanted to do that. And it was also money that we could use to pay back the taxpayers some money. Keep saying that, but
What are you talking about?
keep writing it.
You gonna cut him a check?
No, and like you say, you can't just give it back to him and start handing it, but we can do
You
it.
gonna make it rain on Broadway?
We did it with the, in my view, with the trash tax. There's what if we was to say cut this rate hike that we just, the LMU that we
This
just.
doesn't
voted
make a
in.
little sense, Bob. They spent all this time working on the capital improvement fund, so it's fully funded, and now you want to cut it out when they made all the plans to do this stuff.
So you just want to give $1 million for whatever?
He said that we're not giving anything. We have to approve this money, right?
Mhm.
Correct?
You don't, yes, you
We gotta
don't,
approve this the second
And
time.
if it's
don't
a rainy day-
spend it.
And if it's in a rainy day, we still have to approve it. It doesn't matter.
But this is part of the CIP on all the work they did for that.
Rainy day
This
is a
is-
tax-supported fund, correct?
Rainy day could come from a lot of different locations. You can put,
But what we
It's-
budget is tax-supported.
Yes.
Is a tax-supported fund.
yes,
Economic development
is income
is
tax.
not,
It's income tax.
it is not a property tax-supported fund.
No. It's a
It's income tax.
county economic development income tax.
So the money comes in based on, how's that money?
1/4% of all income supports what you would traditionally think of as economic development income tax, or CEDIT. 1/4% supports LOIT, local option income
Right.
tax. And there's 1/4% that is used to offset some other expenses, and I can't remember what they are, but it's, the three of them together, almost 1/4% of your salary goes to support economic development.
And that's what I thought it was. I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
everybody else was on the same page with that.
Right, but
You're
it's-
paying that tax
Right.
every time you get paid,
Right.
and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and if you don't get paid, you don't pay the tax.
Right.
Whereas property taxes are different. You can lose your
So
job,
what
but you
he's
still got to pay your
saying
property
is-
tax.
What he's saying is, if you don't budget for it, you couldn't expend it if you had an opportunity arise. What he's also saying is that we are the authority as to whether that's expended or not. So-
Absolutely.
So you can put that appropriation in there for that expenditure and never expend it.
That's right.
I agree with that. Only thing I'm thinking.
However, I don't see that being the case with the Cleto pieces.
Okay.
I mean, the incentive, the land acquisition and the special building, yes, I do see that. I see that as part of the CIP. I see that in that case because that's money that we wouldn't have
The
to
last two
expend.
are CIP, yeah.
But I don't see that with the Cleto because those appear to me, at least the way it's there, those are line items that we're gonna pay to Cleto.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Seems to me.
I mean, I know it looks good to save $1.4 million, but
Okay, let me.
The only question I
You're
have
not
about the line
expending
item
it.
stuff is why is it listed there in the first place? And is there a specific reason why?
Because
And
you
if we
can't-
cut it, will we be hurting them down the road, or will...
Hurting who?
Cleto?
No.
I have no idea why they would line item those things in the first place.
In anticipation. I don't think there's anything on the hook right now. It's, if something does come along, will they have
Have a
something to
funding
offer 'em?
source.
I believe this is Cleto's request.
Yeah, it's not my budget.
Oh, so this is something new.
This is what they're asking for.
Oh, okay, all right.
And back to the CIP, Gary, I want to just run
I'm with you.
one thing about that. You know, I agree with you. We have spent a lot on the CIP, and it's really working well.
Well, I mean, you worked at having a CIP program that's not a wish list.
Right.
So then if you start hacking into your wish,
But-
into your
Right.
CIP, then you're changing it back
But
to
it's
a wish
also
list.
not set in stone here. And this is only 2 lines, but it's a huge 2 lines.
I agree, yeah.
And the reason I'm looking at this is because I'm looking at, there's $1.25 million there that we could be using to pay some of these other things or to give something back to the taxpayer.
No, you
Bob-
can't.
Bob, you can't.
Because those aren't property tax, this is not a property tax supported fund. This money is gonna come in from wage tax, taxes that you pay on wages. Cutting this is not gonna make any difference. That tax money's still gonna come in. The difference is, if you don't have a line item there and you have an opportunity arise, you're not gonna have the opportunity to expend it.
Even if we put it in the rainy day fund?
No, you don't
You
want it
can't.
in the rainy
No.
day fund. You can't put, rainy day is a property tax supported fund.
You can't
This is
put-
a
yeah.
income tax supported fund. They're two totally different beasts.
There's no
By
separate-
cutting this $1.4 million, you return nothing.
Yep,
I-
nothing.
If you say, hey, I don't want your income tax, it's too bad. You're getting it anyway.
I'm not saying that we're turning this money away. I'm saying that we're not going to spend it on this.
You're not going to spend it on this without bringing it forward for a vote.
Okay.
If you move it to rainy day, Bob, what you are doing is placing that burden on the property tax owners instead of it coming out of paychecks. It is a tax that is assessed by the county
Yeah.
that comes out of every individual's paycheck that works in Cass County.
When
And
we,
it's
at the,
based on their salary.
when we figure our rainy day though, we're figuring that from our surplus. It doesn't matter.
It's
what surplus
property
from.
tax
It's
based.
not a surplus. It's built into that fund for unexpecteds.
Right.
You're going to have certain things that happen throughout the year that you cannot plan
No, I'm
on.
talking about, like what we're just did, the 850,000 or 9 from last year.
Uh-huh.
That was from surplus.
Surplus from general fund.
That's a transfer.
That's a
That's what
transfer.
I'm
That's
talking
not a budget, that's a transfer.
And that's what we would be eventually doing with this then.
President of the board
No.
would like to speak.
I think the hang-up is, this is seeded money. You can't transfer seeded money into the rainy day account.
Right.
It's two different tax
This is
funds.
seeded money?
Yes.
This
Yes.
is seeded money. That's what she's trying to tell you. This is seeded money, not property tax supported.
It's either seeded or cadget or
Where's-
whatever.
yeah, where's
It's
it
an
say this
income
is seeded
tax. It's
money?
not a property
It's
tax.
income tax. I think it's
Right.
cadget, actually. I'm not positive.
It's a different
County
source.
adjusted gross income tax.
Okay,
Well, that's, yeah, I didn't understand it.
I
You're
don't-
saying this is from seeded?
right.
Yes, those are
I don't think
seeded
we have
funds.
Right.
cadget in there, do
Oh, I didn't say that.
we? We do have cadget.
Okay, well,
Okay.
and so I want to make sure on this incentive funding, that is something that has to be voted on by council. The line above the
Yeah.
blue line,
The 85,000?
isn't that what they?
We did, when we did for Carter Fuel System, Federal Mobile,
Right.
that came before
Because that's
council.
not in Cleto's
Right.
thing, so.
No.
No.
Cleto doesn't control it.
So the only, if you're wanting to cut what goes to Cleto, the
Yeah.
only three lines then I
Right.
see would be the retention funds, 15,000, the training funds, 20,000, and the marketing funds, 15,500.
And you can cut 15 off of that
And
90.
15 off of the operating
Right.
funds because
Right.
we had.
Yeah, that's, if this,
So that's
if that
six-
million is seeded, and I didn't realize that, I don't know why
Yeah,
it wouldn't say that. I just saw it as a capital improvement plan.
yeah.
No.
So,
Capital improvement plan has numerous sources of funding.
so is that
How was I supposed to know this was from seeded?
economic development?
I know.
Or if it's
Just
spelled out in the
economic
cap,
development.
That's seeded.
it's spelled out in the
That's what it's for.
capital
Never
improvement
mind.
plan.
That's what it's for.
Yeah. That's-
Okay.
So Bob has on the table cutting those three, well, actually cutting
Four.
four. 15,000 from the operating funds, making that 75,000, and zeroing retention funds, training funds, and marketing funds.
I say yes.
65.5.
I can support the 15,000, we did that at our last meeting anyway, on
Right.
first reading, but
I have a hard time cutting money that even the person that's suggesting we cut it can't exactly say what it's for. and not having, every other department that's been here that we've gone over any kind of a budget, they've had the opportunity to at least explain what it was for and why they needed it. And I have a hard time cutting money that's maybe in somebody's budget that they're planning on having or banking on having. And
Is that an automatic payment to them?
Twice a year.
Operating funds are.
Operating funds, but the retention funds, training funds, and marketing funds, is that an automatic payment to them?
I believe it's twice a year. It's it's when the money is distributed, it's 2 times a year, I believe. Yeah. June and November.
And Bob, you're the Cleto rep here, and are you telling us that Cleto and John are not doing the job that they need to be doing for
No,
economic
I didn't say
development?
that at all. I'm saying they don't need this money. They've got $300,000 there. They don't need this. You're just giving them money to put in their bank account. There's no, and like I said, too bad maybe John's not here.
If he was here, he would address
But
that, but he ain't here.
I'm telling you that there's nothing that Ted or I that sit on this board know that training funds are going for, marketing funds, or
I don't think there's
retention funds.
I don't think there's a designated person waiting out there depending on this.
No.
I don't think they've pledged that at all. I think it is in the event that something comes along that they can retain or offer an incentive to either bring somebody here or to bring a new piece of equipment here, to offer something.
And that's what we do. We do it all the time.
So if we approve this in the budget, we don't have, this automatically goes to Cleto.
We don't have a say on what it's done with it. But that doesn't mean we can't do this. It just means that council has say on what that incentive is. And they have say on the training, if they're going to do training.
So if they wanted to do something, then Cleto would have to come to us and request that, and we would have to review each single situation and then do an additional appropriation for it.
Right, and we have,
Or there's money in that area that we can pay from that.
Or you could tell Cleto to dip into their $320,000 and use that until it's all gone, and then
True.
and then there's
We have that option.
and then there's nothing left, which is part of the reason, part of the strategy for putting this in here is, look, John's a short timer. He's not going to be there forever. I think maybe another year at the most. And if we're going to attract anybody worth a damn, you're going to have to show some money, or else we're going to be doing economic development right here in this building. There's not going to be a Cleto. It's that simple.
And honestly, part of the reason we're here is because of your actions and Ted's actions with the Cleto, well, it wasn't Cleto, LADF people before. The replacement for Skip, and I can't even keep Connie.
we've been through 5 since we've been in here. Yeah.
Connie, and I can't
I think
remember
we're on our
who all
5th.
was here. Who all was here, so.
Skip, Julie,
Julie,
Julie.
Connie,
Connie, John.
John.
4.
So it's 4.
4. We're on our 4th one.
Yeah, and
3 years.
Yeah.
Teresa, just in defense of that, when the Cleto director expects the mayor to answer to that person, that's wrong. And if Connie wants to go, please, don't let the door hit you. The mayor doesn't answer to the Cleto director, never will, as long as I'm the mayor. She doesn't steer the ship.
He was the economic guy when I came on council. Jim Weaver.
Yeah, Jim
Yeah.
died 10 years ago this year.
Okay, so what are we doing? Are we cutting the retention, training, and marketing funds, or leaving it in? What's the,
I'm asking to cut it.
what does everyone want to do? Chuck,
I'm good with it.
I'll leave it.
leave it? Joe,
I mean, I'm good with cutting it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not.
cut or leave? Joe,
Cut.
cut? Chuck?
I think we could cut a part of it. I don't want to cut all of it.
You can do that too.
Which part?
and I say leave it.
How many we got? On all of it.
Hard? Okay, let's
If this
go
was
back
something we
again.
spent money on before, I could see one thing, but We just cut 25, or how much was it, 15 out of it, and then they're asking for
No,
this?
we didn't just cut 15, Gary. We gave them
Well,
a
I was
raise.
meaning from the 90.
We gave them a
Right.
40%
Yeah.
raise or whatever it was, so we know we didn't cut it. We gave them a substantial raise.
I
Just
wasn't-
not as much as they
I wasn't
want.
being that specific with my comment. I was meaning from the 90,000 we cut it.
Yeah.
Okay,
But,
Chuck says partial cut. What do you say, Gary?
I'd cut it all. I don't know why they're asking for it.
Cut it all?
Yeah.
Joe?
Cut it.
Charlie?
Leave it.
Cut.
Bob? Cut. Jeremy?
Leave it.
What is it now?
Oh dear, I say leave it too, so we're at 3, 3, and 1.
So we need to go
Mayor
by
gets a tiebreaker.
We need to go by individuals then, for Chuck. Which one do you want to leave, Chuck?
I would leave retention and marketing. I think the training funds could be something that would be cut, and if we had something that had a program that cost more than $10,000, then they could come to council to look for it. That's where I was looking
I
at.
think, I'm just going to say this is just throwing money away, but, you know, but if that's what you want to do, obviously.
Cut the training funds and leave the retention and the marketing. How do we feel about that? How do you
Yeah.
feel about that, Gary?
Yeah, sure.
Joe?
I think they all need to go.
Charlie?
I'm okay with what Chuck said.
I think they all should go, but if all we can get's those two, I'll take what I can get.
Jeremy?
Go along with what you suggested.
Okay, so I think we'll just cut it
20.
sounds like the majority has.
Cut the 20 and keep the 15 and the
Cut the
15.5.
20.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
I think I'm just slap happy. It's been a long couple of days.
It's crazy.
What's next?
okay, I believe we only have one more, and
Thank
that's
God.
council budget. There's really
Yeah,
not a lot of.
The
wig-
city attorneys too.
Oh, the
Yeah.
city attorney.
Don't we have an item in parks as well? Isn't there an item in parks?
We did the parks last night.
We're done.
There's something, wasn't there $20,000 for granting or something in parks?
No, that was, we agreed to leave that money in there and then go back
Where's city
and
council?
review
I don't see it.
what the resolution says about applying for grants.
City council, I don't really see anything in there that's,
What page
What page is that on?
please?
Page 5.
You know, we're probably doing legal next.
yeah, 'cause that's
Um,
all we've got left.
Okay, that's so I can combine those two then. We have $11,000 in legal services. When we get to the attorney coming up next, it's my belief that such as last year, we gave a 5% raise. The attorney's, I think, the highest paid person we have. That attorney is getting larger raises, and I think that we need to address that. And there's a lot of ways we can address that, and council has a legal ability by Indiana code to fund the council's legal service up to whatever the mayor has. And so we could fund our own legal service up to what Randy gets, according to Indiana code. You know, I am actually wondering right now, we're coming up on this power plant thing, and we use the mayor's attorney, which is Randy. He serves the mayor, and he graciously does all of our work for us. So I'm wondering, though, in this power plant thing, if there's a possibility, the way I see it, that the city council maybe should have their own representative if we need legal advice. So that's a possibility. But so I have thought we have 11,000 here. I've thought about cutting the mayor's attorney. We could do that and add it to ours, and we could split it. There's a lot of different ways, and we can cap it. But I'm just thinking, at some point, maybe the council may need more for legal. And I think that the city attorney is getting, because as you can see, we've spent $32,000 so far this year for Molitor, and $37,000 for Barnes. We're spending, and $54,000, and those are all fine and dandy, but we're spending a lot of money on attorneys.
Now, wasn't Molitor, didn't he represent us most of the time?
A part of the time.
No, Molitor,
And I think we paid that out of our budget, I think.
no. No.
For the legals, we
No.
didn't pay that out of the
No, it
council?
came out of the 300,000 you just cut. I'm paying your bills.
Well, it should have probably came out of the council's.
Okay. You appropriate that money, that'll put me
Yeah,
almost
maybe a
back
little
dead
late.
square.
But that's what this 11,000 that we have, well, we 14, see, we had 10,000 in the 14 budget. We should have used that. We didn't use any. So anyway, I guess I'm trying to say that I think we need to address attorney maybe issue, if you don't think we should. We'll get to the attorney next, but.
Well, maybe we should bounce to the attorney and then come back to the council.
Okay.
My intent was to
Okay.
have council last anyways.
Well, that's the only thing I see on council,
Let's go to attorney.
just in case.
Let's go to attorney and,
Where's
We
he
got
at?
time for a little break?
Page 8.
Great, you're supposed to be out here at 6 o'clock.
We only got one left. You can go.
page 8.
You know, I have a hard time paying for Randy when it seems like we're using Barnes and Molitor more than we're using him. And if I'm wrong, please correct me.
Where's the lawyer?
It's just part of the discussion. I think it needs to be, it's a tough subject, but it's something I think we just need to look at. That's all I'm asking. Is that
One of the things that we talked about in previous council was the fact that the way government is, you know, they used to have a full-time city attorney, you know, with someone who was here who took care of all city business, and then it went to, you know, the way it is now. And maybe we're, you know, back at a point where that's something that we need to consider. Of course, with the situation with the power plant and those kind of things, you know, you want specific, you know, attorneys with a particular set of skills that one person doesn't have. With that being said, we also have to have somebody who's here that can offer legal opinion when we have questions, you know, at a meeting. So somebody has to be sitting there because, you know, as experienced as we all are, we're not attorneys, you know, and we don't have that skill set the way that an attorney does. So we have to have somebody to sit there and do that job. Now, whether it's, you know,
No question about that. I mean, we definitely have to have that.
so, you know, is he making his $70,000 a year that we're paying him? I don't know. You know?
Well, one way you can figure it is what they charge per hour and how many hours that equals. And we're talking, what would a local, you know,
125, 150?
175, I believe, is the going rate, right here.
in town?
Yep.
So I get a deal. 4.25.
So we have,
LMU matches this, right?
Close.
Yeah.
It may not be exact. but
Almost.
So
Yeah.
we're looking at about $70,000
yeah.
divided by 100. I'm going to say 150. That's 400, roughly 466 hours.
Divided by 50 weeks.
52.
So that's only 3 hours a week.
Seems like an awful lot. I'm sorry, but that's asinine.
That's what they make.
Well, they make different amounts for different levels that they're at.
Right.
Bob, what was your math? Did you say 3 hours a week?
That's what I thought. Is that right?
No, I don't think
I
so.
didn't think that was right.
I don't think so.
I just took what she gave me and
Yeah.
I don't know what I did now. Siri, did you?
That's 9
Screw me
hours.
on.
It's right at 9 hours a week.
I was going to say, yeah.
Okay, because I was thinking it was,
Yeah,
That's
3 didn't sound
70,000
right.
divided by 150 divided by 52. That was a problem. You did 50 weeks, probably.
I did do 50 weeks.
Well, there's
No, 'cause that'd make it go up.
I figured you got a vacation.
Not that much. When he's gone, the other attorney fills in
Right.
for him.
And from what I understand, he pays that
Yep.
other attorney when he's gone,
Yep.
so. So, it's just, yeah, I think it's good that we're discussing it because I think we're getting a lot of money in attorney fees
I mean,
and.
I don't know, does Randy work 9 or 10 hours a week on city business?
Oh, yeah, I would easily say yes.
Yeah.
How many?
Easily 9 or 10, some weeks more than that, some weeks less.
Yeah.
But on average, he's 9 or 10, easy.
Okay.
So we've had a lot of unique circumstances with a court case that went all the way to the Supreme Court. We've had 2 cases in the lower court just on the power plant,
all understand.
one in the Supreme Court, and now we're going to have one that goes back to the appellate court. All those things take a lot of money. And then what you guys probably don't see a lot of is the harassment, the pages and pages and pages that Attorney Brew and Kitchell and some of his other underlings harass basically the clerk treasurer's office with. And he expects us to produce 1,200 pages in 24 hours. And we can't do it. We couldn't do it if we wanted to. So every time he files a complaint, we have to march it down to the public access counselor and defend the case before the public access counselor. We've won every one of them. The public access counselor has ruled in our favor every single time. So, yeah, it's a lot of money for attorneys. But if we don't, we
No, I'm
have
not
to
arguing
we have to
that we haven't
pay
had
we have to pay. He can sue us because we didn't provide the paperwork to him. We're going to catch 22. We're going to pay it to the attorney, or we're going to pay it to the plaintiff, who's Jim Brew, who's just harassing us. It's just one way or another, but you're going to pay.
What about if we just, how about if we just set a figure for the city attorney, which you have a set figure here in this budget, which is, it was 70-something close when you add everything in.
The
But-
city's portion of it, though, is 35,102.
Okay, that's true.
The other part comes from LMU.
Because he does do work for them.
Right.
Right.
So I'm thinking of basically that to keep this from getting out of hand over the years with raises, with percentage raises, I'm thinking that maybe at least we could cap this going forward, maybe even, maybe make it
Equal to the
$1 less
mayor's?
than the mayor makes or something, I don't know. But it's, I think it might be best just to set it at a limit, and if future councils want to raise it, they could, if it starts getting behind, but I think he's starting to get ahead.
Well, that would come up in the salary ordinance.
Yeah.
That would be addressed in the salary ordinance.
So I just wanted a little bit of something discussed, because one thing I'm thinking about is there's a possibility that the city council could possibly need their own attorney at some point. I mean, luckily we get along so good with Mayor
Yeah.
Franklin. We don't have to worry about
Up
that.
until tonight, when you cut my 300,000.
After tonight, we may need our own attorney.
I'm guessing you're not getting invited over to any barbecues, Bob. I'm guessing you're not getting invited over to any barbecues this week.
You get that next batch of beer done, call me.
Okay. So,
So back to council, everybody okay?
yeah, 10,000 on it. I mean,
11?
okay, whatever
Look
that
at your
is.
budget.
I mean, just,
Okay,
That it?
that's it.
On the city attorney,
No change.
no change.
No change.
We really need to increase his office supplies to about $500 though.
Well,
I mean, he's not here to defend it.
I didn't think he'd even spent anything on it, what I remember.
Doesn't have any expenditures this year.
he could transfer money that he has over